Welcome to episode 446, where I'm exploring people pleasing and how constantly abandoning yourself to stay safe, accepted, needed, or connected can deeply impact the nervous system. I'll share the connection to the fawn and freeze responses, why boundaries alone are often not enough, and how healing involves slowly reconnecting with your true nature, your voice, and your sense of safety within yourself. Welcome to the Elements of Ayurveda podcast. I'm your host, Colette. And if you're new to Ayurveda, I recommend starting with the first few episodes where I introduce the foundations of Ayurveda and the doshas. To learn more, work with me, or explore my offerings, you can visit elementshealingandwellbeing.com. And for podcast updates, join me on Instagram at Elements of AyurvedaPodcast. And before we begin, just a quick note to say that this podcast is for educational and inspirational purposes only. It's not intended as medical advice. Now let's dive into this episode. Hey there, and welcome back to the podcast. This is Colette, and today I want to talk about something that I think so many people quietly carry, especially sensitive, caring, conscientious people, and that's people pleasing. Now, this is not just kindness, compassion, or generosity, but the exhausting habit of abandoning yourself in order to maintain connection, approval, harmony, or safety. And this is a topic that comes up often in my consultations. Sometimes clients describe feeling emotionally exhausted from constantly taking care of everyone else, or they feel unable to say no without intense guilt or anxiety. They've become so disconnected from themselves that they genuinely don't know what they want anymore. Or sometimes it's so unconscious that they don't realize they're people pleasing until I bring up the topic in a consultation. And what I've noticed is that often the greatest catalyst for change is awareness, simply recognizing their patterns. Seeing how deeply the nervous system has been shaped by years, sometimes decades, of trying to stay safe, accepted, loved, needed, or connected. Because once there's awareness, something shifts. People slowly begin to connect to their true nature, trusting themselves again, using their voice and standing in their power. And this is not a personality flaw or weakness. It's a survival adaptation that eventually disconnects us from our true nature. So today I want to explore the nervous system and people pleasing, the Ayurvedic understanding of these patterns, why boundaries alone are often not enough, and how healing involves reconnecting with your physical, emotional, energetic, and spiritual self. I also want to share some of my own journey with this because this is something I've lived too. I think many of us learned very early that being liked felt safer than being authentic. Maybe we learned that conflict created instability, or emotional expression didn't feel welcome. Love felt conditional, or being easy, agreeable, helpful, high achieving, calm, or emotionally attuned became the way we maintained connection. And the nervous system adapts brilliantly to environments, especially during childhood. Over time, the body begins associating safety with certain behaviors, like caretaking, appeasing, staying small, avoiding conflict, monitoring everyone else's emotions, being hyper-responsible, or becoming whatever others needed us to be. And eventually, these patterns become automatic, so automatic that many people don't even recognize their people-pleasing. It simply feels like who they are. But the body keeps the score because people-pleasing requires constant self-monitoring. The nervous system remains subtly braced, scanning the environment and adjusting accordingly and anticipating. The body continually asks, how do I stay safe? How do I avoid rejection? How do I maintain connection? And how do I prevent disappointment or conflict? And over time, this creates exhaustion, not only emotionally, but physiologically, because the body was never meant to remain in these survival states. And I think this is where the conversation around people pleasing often becomes oversimplified online. We hear advice like, just set boundaries, just say no, or stop caring what people think. But for many people, it's not that simple, because people pleasing is often not just a behavior, it's a nervous system survival strategy. The body does not easily release behaviors that once helped it survive emotionally. So even when the adult mind says, I'm allowed to say no, the nervous system may simply interpret that boundary as danger. Danger of rejection, of abandonment, of disconnection, of losing love, or of not belonging. And this is why people pleasing can trigger such anxiety in the body, because the nervous system is not only reacting to the present moment, it's reacting to what the body once learned was necessary for survival. From a nervous system perspective, people pleasing often relates to what trauma therapists call the fawn response. Now, many people know the fight or flight response. Some know the freeze response, but the fawn response says, if I keep everyone happy, maybe I'll stay safe. Or if I become what others need, maybe I'll avoid pain. Or if I manage the emotional environment well enough, maybe I'll remain connected. And sometimes people pleasing also carries a freeze response. You may know you want to speak. You may know that something feels wrong, but the body shuts down. Words disappear and energy collapses inward. Because the nervous system perceives danger, not necessarily physical danger, but emotional danger. And I think it's important to say that there is no one-size-fits-all version of people-pleasing due to different constitutional types, different childhood experiences, different nervous system responses, and adaptations. Some people become highly accommodating and soft-spoken. Others become hyper-confident and over-responsible. It may look like over-giving emotionally, overworking, being a perfectionist, being endlessly agreeable, or losing connection with your own preferences entirely. But underneath the many forms of people-pleasing is the same longing. Longing for safety, acceptance, connection, and belonging. Ayurveda has always recognized the profound relationship between consciousness, emotion, physiology, and survival. And from an Ayurvedic perspective, chronic people-pleasing often has a strong vata component. There's hypervigilance, fear, overthinking, and difficulty feeling internally grounded, because awareness becomes externally fixated. Instead of being connected to inner knowing, your intuition, and embodied presence, energy becomes scattered outward into everyone else's needs, emotions, and expectations. Vata loses containment, and over time, this can manifest as anxiety, insomnia, digestive irregularity, burnout, fatigue, restless mind, hormonal dysregulation, and nervous system depletion. But there can also be a strong pitta component, because people-pleasing is not always soft or passive. Sometimes it looks highly capable, being highly productive, being the reliable one, the achiever, the caretaker, and the one who holds everything together. Pitta may believe, if I perform well enough, I'll remain worthy. Or if I stay useful, needed, or exceptional, I'll remain loved. So people-pleasing can also hide beneath perfectionism, overworking, control, hyper-efficiency, and chronic responsibility. And eventually, resentment quietly builds underneath the surface, because the deeper wound is often not, I do too much, It's, I don't know how to stay connected to myself while staying connected to others. And this is something I deeply relate to personally. There was a period in my life where I slowly lost myself through people pleasing. I was very externally focused, very attuned to everyone else's needs, emotions, and expectations. And from the outside, I probably appeared highly functional, capable, responsible, and caring. But internally, I felt disconnected from myself. I had become so accustomed to maintaining harmony and taking care of others that I stopped truly listening to my own body, my own needs, and my own truth. And eventually my nervous system reflected that disconnection. There was exhaustion, overwhelm, internal tension, and difficulty fully relaxing, because the body cannot thrive when we continually override ourselves. And Ayurveda helped me begin seeing these patterns. It helped me understand that my nervous system had adapted in intelligent ways to feel safe and connected. But those adaptations were no longer serving me. Ayurveda helped me reconnect with my body and mind, increasing self-awareness and reconnecting me with my true nature beneath the conditioning. And slowly, very slowly, I began learning what safety actually feels like within myself. No longer seeking safety through performance, approval, or through overgiving, but safety through connection with my true nature. And I think one of the most healing parts of this journey was learning that speaking my truth did not have to come from anger or resentment. It could come from compassion and a place of steadiness, clarity, and embodiment. I could say no without abandoning my heart. I could disappoint someone without abandoning myself. And that changed everything. Because healing people pleasing is not about becoming cold, detached, or hardened. It's about learning discernment, learning to be authentic, and learning that boundaries are not punishment. They are wisdom. Boundaries are a part of health. And this is why healing people pleasing is about much more than simply saying no. Boundaries matter deeply, but if the nervous system still perceives boundaries as dangerous, the body may continue responding with panic, guilt, anxiety, shutdown, or hypervigilance. True healing involves nervous system repair. Healing with Ayurveda is a journey of learning about your unique constitution, your true nature, learning emotional awareness, self-trust, and self-worth, learning that conflict is survivable, that disappointment does not equal abandonment, and that saying no does not make you unsafe. And most importantly, slowly retraining the body to experience safety without self-abandonment. That process takes time because nervous systems heal through gentleness, repetition, and lived experience, one safe boundary at a time. And eventually the body begins learning, I do not have to betray myself to remain safe and loved. And so here are a few small practices to help you return to yourself. The first step is to pause before automatically saying yes. Catch yourself in that moment and take a breath. Because people pleasing often lives in immediacy, in automatic agreement and reflexive accommodation, and then regretting or resenting that yes later. A good way to give yourself some time is to say, I would like to think about it and I'll get back to you. And then notice in that moment if your body contracts, because the body is deeply intelligent. Sometimes the mind is saying yes while the nervous system is saying no. So do you notice tension in your jaw, tightness in your chest or shoulders, feeling drained or overwhelmed, or that sinking feeling in the stomach? Because these signals matter. And then practice expressing truth in small, safe ways. Every time you speak honestly while remaining connected to yourself, the nervous system learns something new. It learns, I can be authentic and still be safe. I can use my voice and remain connected. I can honor myself without losing love. It's not about becoming someone different, but slowly returning to the self that existed before fear taught you to abandon your own needs in order to belong. Ayurveda reminds us again and again that healing is a return to our true nature, a return to balance, awareness, and wholeness. So I hope this information was helpful to you. I know my journey with people pleasing has been a big one over the years, but slowly the people pleasing begins to soften. I think when we no longer seek safety by disappearing from ourselves. This has been part of my journey with Ayurveda. And if you would like support on your journey with Ayurveda, then check out my online offerings on my website, elementshealingandwellbeing.com. I have a comparison chart on there where you can see in detail what you get with each offering. And if you have any questions before booking, take advantage of my free 15-minute services inquiry call. We can hop on Zoom and I can answer all of your questions. And don't forget to follow or subscribe to the podcast, and the new episodes will automatically download for you. And if you would like to leave a rating and review, I would really appreciate that. And please come join me on social media. On Instagram, it's Elements of Ayurveda Podcast. And on Facebook, it's Elements Healing and Wellbeing. And until next time, take good care of yourself, be well, and bye for now. Slán go fóill.